a train run fast, don't come regular. Real bad man, we are show them how to level up.
Yeah, I'm Talyor ELGERSMA. Play quarterback with Tristan. Played with him for a couple of years now. Obviously, just won a Yates Cup together last year, so had to come get in the shop.
Yeah. That Vanier Cup loss, we shared a lot of deep moments as a team together that week in Kingston, and I think we all felt good going into the game. But
yeah, bro. Yeah, I mean, that whole experience of the Vanier week was pretty surreal. I mean, our group was so tight, and we kind of all developed together, played together for so long that we had a special group and a special bond. And so for me, as much as that game didn't go where we wanted it to go, we fell just short. I'll remember, like you said, the moments in the hotel, the moments in the locker room before the game, hearing that anthem, with all of our seniors out there. So I mean, as much as it's a tough memory right now, I think that there's still a lot that was a pretty unique experience that we got.
For sure. Okay, and as the quarterback, a lot of the pressure, a lot of the wins, but also the losses fall on you, right?
Yeah.
As cliche as it sounds, you're the face of the team and people recognize and hold you accountable for, like I said, the wins and the losses. So, I mean, I don't know, how do you handle that type of pressure? It's cool when, everything's going right, but when things kind of fall, I don't know, how do you handle that?
Yeah, bro, I mean, the way I kind of see it is, as an elite athlete, that's the pressure you want, that's part of the position, that's what comes with on the position. But I think it's also important for me to remember that, I have a team around me, and relying on those guys and just trusting, my preparation and my play to play the best of my ability and lead to the best of my ability is something that, is really important to me. But when you talk about playing with the pressure, I think that, if you're a high achiever in sports like we both are, you want to find the bigger moments, you want to find the big situations, because pressure is a privilege. And if you're feeling pressure, it normally means because you're doing something pretty good. And so
yeah.
I'd always rather kind of be in those situations and have those eyes and have those external opinions on you, because it means you're playing in bigger moments.
Yeah. You take your helmet off, football aside, you talked about you have a purpose. What are some things you like to do outside of football? Who is Talyor when he takes his helmet off, when he takes a break from football? What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, man. I'm a guy who's, I'm super intense and super competitive.
Yeah.
And locked in when I'm, playing ball. And so I like to decompress when I'm outside of the game. And a lot of that comes with, staying close with my faith, and serving others and serving the community around me. But, spending time, making sure I'm talking to God and reading His Word. But I enjoy just, kicking up with the boys too. I think one of the unique things about playing university football is the relationships you get to build. And I've been able to build a great relationship with my roommates and teammates. And so playing golf, playing cards, playing video games, whatever it is. But I think just being able to bond with the guys around you, rely on the Lord. I mean, the rest is just chill, dude.
Seems like everything's just, you're right into going pro mode, training for the combine, your pro day you just had. Obviously you get an opportunity to go down and be the first U Sports quarterback to play in the Senior Bowl. You want to talk about that experience and kind of what preparing after the season has been like?
Yeah, dude. Fast turnaround from the Vanier Cup. You lose the international championship and you don't have any time to kind of sit and think about it. The best way to kind of get over it, in my opinion, was to get back to work. And I had a lot of goals for myself this offseason, and I was really blessed to be able to play in the Senior Bowl. And that entire week was an unbelievable experience, not only from the coaching that you're getting, the players you're playing with, the whole event itself. I mean, it's definitely a week I'll always remember. And getting the chance to go down there and compete with the best of the best in the NFL draft class this year was super exciting for me. And then, like you said, get to go do my pro day at University of Buffalo. They allowed me to come down there and throw with their guys. Was honestly just a lot of fun, getting to know some of those Buffalo guys and getting the chance to put on a show with them.
Yeah. You go to the Senior Bowl, and quickly now your name's mentioned in the NFL, talking about getting drafted to the NFL. And so I know you have confidence in yourself, but your journey has gone from, potentially coming back to Laurier to, okay, I'm going to be a pro. Okay, now I have a chance to possibly play at the highest level in the world in the NFL. So what does that mean to you, and how have you kind of handled, I guess, that? Yeah.
I think for me, there's always been a lot of uncertainty with my future. Like you said, even playing this senior season out, being Canadian quarterback, it's kind of a little bit of uncharted territory, being a U Sport guy and having the goals and the dreams that I did. And so Like you said, that came with a lot of uncertainty, but I think that for me, that just, meant that I'm going to have to work as hard as I possibly can, so that, I don't give teams an opportunity to not pick me. Whether that's, on this side of the border, on the other side of the border. I know that if you want to be one of the first to do anything, you got to really go for it. And, you got to, step into the arena and give everything you have. And so, I think that's what my mindset was like, as much as I don't know how everything's going to turn out, trusting that, the Lord has a plan for my life. And my job is to just work as hard as I possibly can and let, Him put the pieces where they're supposed to go. And so I think that's just how I approached it, was trusting God and work really hard.
Yeah. I don't know if people know, but you led our Bible study this year. Our team had a pretty faith-heavy core of players. We met once a week. We talked about God. We related that back to football and our lives outside of football, knowing that you're not perfect, acknowledging that, but then trying to be better. It's something I've heard you vocalize many times in that Bible study. It's something that I think you own and like you have to continue to own,
Yeah, well, I completely agree. Like, to me, that's what the foundation of our faith is that, we aren't going to be perfect. God didn't, put us on this earth to be perfect. He put us on this earth to love Him and to serve others. And I think that's like, like you said, we talked about that a lot about, we're not doing this Bible study to try and, judge each other and act like we're all the perfect humans, but instead to try and challenge each other and grow each other and be able to talk about, real things going on in our lives with each other and support each other. And I think that as long as we're all trying to be, better versions of ourselves, align our lives to look more like Jesus is, then we're doing something right. And
if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? If you could go back and change something, or if you're the type of person who kind of lives with no regrets, then you could give, a younger Taylor advice, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it'd be pretty simple. I didn't really start taking my faith super seriously in my life until I was already older in university. And, I tried to do things my own way for a couple years. And I think I learned that, that doesn't really provide happiness, and you don't see the fruits of your faith if you don't, take your faith seriously, and if you don't get on that journey to try and, be better every single day. And so I think that's what I would just tell myself is, I think God has a calling for me of, using my leadership abilities that the Lord has gifted me with for Him. And I think that, wanting to take full advantage of that is something that I learned and really prioritized later on in my university career. And I wish I would have started that, as soon as I stepped on campus.
What do you feel is one thing that scouts or coaches don't know about you that you can't see on film?
I think, how I am in the locker room, how I'm in meeting rooms, how I think I lead the team, outside of just, when we're on the field. I think that's something that is probably, the most important part of, who I am as a person and as a player. You talked about, you understanding how bad I want to win. And I think that you wouldn't feel that way if, you didn't see me, not in meeting rooms, how I prepared for games, how we talked before the game, the mindset that I was in. And I think that, that's just important as anything else is, showing your teammates that you're willing to work hard and prepare to the best of your ability so that they have a lot of confidence in you. And, I think that was part of that culture that I was talking about that, our older guys were able to kind of instill. And it's on guys like you to continue to keep that going for our football program. And so I think that just the way that I lead in that manner is something that I don't think scouts get to see until they're in a room with me.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree that leadership is something like, I think that was your identity, like you killed it when you're on the field, but like we all kind of look to you to lead us out there on game day. You came with the energy, you came with the fire. We know if you got a block for a running back, like we know you're in there, so I definitely feel that as well. Where would you say is a moment that in your football career that your faith helped you overcome? Like, where have you kind of had to lean on God? This could have been a challenge, some type of obstacle where you feel like you really kind of leaned on your faith throughout your career.
Yeah, I think, the last couple of months have been a pretty good example for me of, just trusting the Lord. We kind of talked about it, but, coming out of that Vanier Cup loss, that was really difficult for me to kind of process. I felt like, we'd given everything we had all year. We deserved to come away national champions almost in a way. And, only scoring 17 points, not being able to get the job done, weighed on me. But I think that, just taking that and responding with, I don't know why our season ended the way that it did, God. I don't know why you know, it couldn't end with that perfect storybook ending that I always envisioned. But right now, I just have to trust that there's a plan for this, there's a reason for this. And I don't know what that is right now, but my job is to get back to work and go try and showcase the best I can at, you know, down at College Ground Showcase in Texas. And so, you know, just using that to motivate me, to fuel me, and watching how God opened doors after that, you know, that whole all-star circuit that we talked about, ending in the Senior Bowl and the Pro Day, I think that, you know, that really just showed, you know, when you respond the right way to, you know, challenges and obstacles, and you just rely on your faith and rely on the Lord and rely on His plan, that, you know, everything's supposed to happen for a reason.
Yeah. A lot of people, I feel like when success comes, kind of who they are kind of changes at their core, or, you know, their actions and stuff like that. And you can't say it's easy, or I blame those people, because honestly, it comes with a different level of responsibility, right? But as you kind of sense your life shifting a little bit, you're going into this next chapter. Obviously, you're not a stranger to success and attention. But how do you think, if you think it will shape you or mold you at all, or how do you expect to kind of stay the same person and the circle around you, and kind of keep the same values as you go through this journey of success?
Yeah, I think you understand this really well, but, you know, my value doesn't come from, you know, what people are saying about me, or attention, or, you know, Instagram reels, or any of that. You know, my value comes from the Lord. And so when you really believe that, and you really trust that, you know, sure, there's things that are nice that come with success, but that's not ultimately who you are as a person. That doesn't make you more valuable than anyone else on this planet. And I think that when you know, walk around everyday life, and you know, understand that those things are not gonna, you know, change my place in heaven, and my salvation is where I find my most happiness, then you know, you can just kind of stay where your feet are and stay in the moment, and not allow that to kind of, like what you said, change who you are as a person. Appreciate you, Don.
No worries.
Money.